Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2015 EOY Entrepreneur of the Year Awards.
EY Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 recognized and rewarded India's most exceptional entrepreneurs and business leaders who have brought about a change through their exemplary work, sheer grit and determination. Celebrating the success stories of these winners is the Passion to Win series, showcasing India's best innovators and game changers.
Hello and welcome to a four-part special series, Passion to Win, celebrating the winners of the EY Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 Awards. I'm Shireen Bhan. Now, through the series, we'll bring you stories of 10 of India's finest entrepreneurs and innovators who've revolutionized their industry through innovative thinking and inspirational leadership. Our first entrepreneur has transformed the e-commerce space with his innovation that's redefined mobile payments in the country. Paytm is today one of India's largest and widely preferred mobile wallet service platforms. But what led to its origin? Let's find out.
A prodigy from a Hindi medium school, Vijay Shekhar Sharma raced through his education and started studying engineering at the tender age of 15. But soon he had to face his biggest block.
I did my schooling from a town near Aligarh, and it was Hindi medium school. I was class 12th I completed when I was 14-year-old, so I was a little early. I got this time to convert my Hindi medium knowledge into English medium knowledge, so I used to read two books together, Understanding Samantar but Sandharitra called parallel plate capacitor and Pratrodh being called resistance. And this way I appeared at engineering entrance tests where the answers were written and I could guess the question by reading the answer. That if it is being asked as speed, so it is miles per hour, so it means it is a speed question. So lucky to get into Delhi College of Engineering, I got selected for engineering branch of electronics and communications. Now the problem was that selection was easy, but education was tougher because I had this moment which in Hindi movie Tare Zameen Par happens when the teacher is teaching and your alphabets are flying because you do not know what teacher is speaking. In fact, I used to be class topper in my school days, and soon I had become a backbencher because when teacher was asking me a question I couldn't have answered, so out of embarrassment I started to become a backbencher. I was a 15-year-old teenage who was at the backbench immediately after coming from school, which was I was topper of and in Hindi medium.
He tried out various internet businesses but soon discovered another opportunity.
This is 1999. We were at this company which was we were building a software for US companies. Effectively, it was feeling bad immediately because we became more or less a product development arm, but the product was being developed for US. So it was a depressing feeling. India was going through this euphoria of internet and there was a .com boom happening in India. And so it was a very interesting feeling and a sad feeling first and then a mixed feeling later. First was how horrible it is to sell your company so early on while everybody else is building millions of dollars worth companies. And later on it was mixed feeling because we started seeing these companies are going down, that at least we made money. These companies were at least paper money. So I left that company in 11.5 months so that I can start something of my own. And internet business had a problem. There was no revenue way back in 99 and 2000. There was no advertising revenue online, or the commerce obviously didn't exist much. So I discovered a new way to charge the consumer for content, and that was telecom operator. What if a telecom operator who's sending you monthly bill or whom you are paying for every call also becomes a charging method for the content that you buy? So that is when we sort of invented a business model which was new for telcos, and interesting that we could build a platform which is software, hardware and content by ourselves, and we will give it to telcos to sell to the consumer and then take a revenue share. And in a hindsight, it was a software as a service, it was cloud because we were building a software cloud on top of it with content was being distributed. Well, I think Indian telcos, because they did not have large amount of capex to deploy, liked this business model, who traditionally would have otherwise bought these systems. They were like, okay, you giving me for free, if we make money, you make money, it sounds cool. So I remember that when day one we started music service, it was very hit. It was incredibly hit. And another service was live astrology, when you can talk to a Panditji by calling online on a phone call. And these services were you paying by the minute and we making a percentage of what you're paying. And the risk of the business was whether the technology cost and system cost can get recovered or not. So we were ready to take a risk because we sort of had understanding that software will move to the cloud anyways, and this is like a cloud. So ended up making a profitable business, except that there was no cash coming in time.
Then in 2010, he came up with the big idea, Paytm.
Once we started to sell a lot of content, we became sort of 100 million songs a month kind of service. So people were downloading a lot of music in those days. Ringback tones were popular, but at the same point in time, it was becoming crowded out there. So we wanted to move it next in the value chain, which was acquiring customers. So from just being a content company, we became a mobile marketing company. So Indian telecom operators and brands wanted a customer lifecycle using feature phones or phones, mobile phones. So we created a mobile phone-led marketing company, and it became another hit for us because this is where we started to make a lot of money. And today we run 25,000 server large cloud, which is hundreds of millions of users use it every month. And that is the kind of customer insights and data-driven marketing that we do in India today. And that is what 197's core business till 2010 was. And 2011 is when we started Paytm. I think I always had an urge to build one of the incredible brand out of this country. And the urge to build a consumer service and consumer brand name was so big on me that I talked to my board that if we take this opportunity and build a consumer facing product, would you be fine with that? Because traditionally we've been doing B2B, the business to business selling of the software. And I think board was totally against it because they said that Vijay, you are a great technology guy, you're a great salesman to the businesses, but we are afraid that you might not be a great brand builder, you might not be a great consumer brand builder and a service player there. So I sort of had an interesting conversation on the board where I said, I am betting my $1 million on the table that you give me a chance to create this, and if you think that it is not created, then you can take care of this money being distributed among all of you, the shares that I put on the table. And then it came a decision of what business would you do? Whether would you build a similar content services business that we've done, gaming, content, music, movies, or would you do totally something different? We took a call that on a smartphone world, when you download an app, the payment is done automatically at the back. And this is the experience I was experiencing on iTunes Store, Google Play Store in US, except that in India there was not such experience because there was no payment system in India. So I suggested our board that we will build a payment system on the mobile phone which will work with smartphones, app stores. And this new economy cannot be served with cash on delivery because e-commerce companies do cash on delivery and take the box and give the cash, but you can't do the app and game download and do the cash on delivery. So interesting opportunity for us was to build a payment system for mobile age. Double problem now. First, India didn't have any payment system for last 10 years when the internet was happening. And second, I think anybody who started a payment company wasn't able to be successful as easily as other kind of companies that were being built on smartphone systems. So I suggested that we build a payment company with an anchor marketplace on top of it and we'll be successful. So Paytm started with a single category of mobile recharge because this is the need that Indians had. And we wanted to solve the payment problem by solving the recharge as a first problem, and then second problem of building other payment and utility services, and then marketplace in due course.
Today, Paytm has a 120 million user base and has emerged as a force to reckon with.
Today, Paytm does 120 million user base, and that makes it largest consumer product in this country built on technology. And interestingly, about 1/3 of them are monthly active. So 37, 38 million would be active of last month, users of them. And every day we do something like 50 crore rupees of transactions every day. And Paytm does more number of transactions a day than any bank in this country, and probably little more than half of all Visa, Master, American Express diner combined. Our vow is that in 2016, Paytm number of transactions will be bigger and more than all Visa, Master, Diners, Amex transactions combined in this country. And we will have at least 200 million subscribers by this year end.
Vijay Shekhar Sharma, the founder of the revolutionary Paytm, walked away with the Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 award in the startup category.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Vijay Shekhar Sharma of 197 Communications.
Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen.
Time now for a short break, but on the other side we meet a third generation entrepreneur who's etched his name into the annals of the manufacturing sector by making the Royal Enfield motorcycle sexy again. That's up in a bit. Welcome back. You're watching Passion to Win. Our next entrepreneur's passion was motorcycles. And in 2000, at the age of 26, he took up the reins of what was beginning to look like an almost defunct unit. Today, he's credited with the turnaround and revival of the same motorcycle, the Royal Enfield. Let's take a look at Siddharth Lal's story.
A third-generation entrepreneur, Siddhartha Lal's family owned the prestigious Eicher Group. But it was a tiny business in the group's portfolio that really held his heart, Royal Enfield.
So I'm essentially a third-generation entrepreneur, but our family is not a very typical business family. So my father, mother, sisters and me, when we were growing up, we weren't talking about business all the time. It was, I think, a more holistic sort of atmosphere, and business was, of course, a part of it. And I grew up with the idea and the belief with my family that, I don't have to join the family business. There's no such pressure on at any level really. And maybe that was all a big plan by my parents, because I am a bit rebellious by nature. So I imagine if I'd been pushed really hard into business, I would have run a mile away. But because I wasn't, but when I was a kid, I used to actually love bicycles, and I mean, maybe it's a bit controversial, but I still probably like bicycles more than anything else in terms of two wheels, right? I love motorcycles as well, of course. So I grew up, with, cycling and knowing about automobiles a little bit, but I wasn't, really a piston head, as it were, whatever it is. And yeah, but at some point, the interest started growing actually more in motorcycles.
Then in 2004, his father asked him to be the CEO of the Eicher Group. He agreed, but on his own terms.
In around the year 2004, when I was now 4 years into running Royal Enfield, in fact, that's the first time my parents said, okay, look, we need to plan some succession at the Eicher level, and the then CEO and chairman and my dad and me, we worked together, and I was like, no, I don't want to leave this place. This is I'm enjoying myself here now at Royal Enfield, and I'm really having a blast, and we're getting somewhere, we're doing interesting things. But I also understood that, that was something that was there. So that's the first time that I was perhaps told or sort of nudged towards a particular area, and my response, as I said, it's there's a bit of negotiation always. My response was, great, I'll do that, but on my terms. And my dad was like, dude, absolutely, you do it on your terms. And my terms were I said, we need to look at our entire portfolio, Eicher's entire business, from a clean sheet of paper again. And sometimes when I look back, I'm like, that entire thing, I don't know how I did it sometimes, but I actually sat down, we had internal teams, we had some support from outside, and we drilled down on the entire portfolio of Eicher from in the year 2004. We spent time, and I figured that, if you look at it, actually we were just mediocre. We were in 15 different businesses, we weren't doing exceptionally well in any one business. We were basically a mediocre firm, and we didn't want to face that reality, right? And that was it. That was the realization that we'd rather do one or two things really well than do everything mediocre. And that was it. And we sold the business that we started with, which was a very big business at that time in our portfolio, equal to our truck business, so the largest business perhaps. That was where my grandfather had started from. That's where my father had spent most of his years. And it was the toughest decision for me. And we sold 13 out of 15 of our businesses in our portfolio. And that was a tough time because I was a kid again, I was still 31 or something, and 30. And what happened was that while selling all these businesses, we also got rid of an entire layer of management. A lot of people went with the businesses, and that caused obviously a lot of anxiety in the firm, but also, the word on the street at that time, I'm talking about 2005 or so, was that, okay guys, Aisha is now over.
Soon he put the truck division on its growth track by entering into a joint venture with Volvo while simultaneously working on growing his real passion, Royal Enfield.
When we were in the process of figuring out our future portfolio, what emerged was that the Aisha truck business had all the right ingredients, even though it wasn't one of the biggest. It was number 3 in India, a distant number 3 in trucks, but it was number 3, and profitable, and had a very solid brand, and had a very strong distribution, and had good technological foundation and quality foundation. So it was on the back of that we figured that we have a shot at let's say becoming a big truck company, and on the one hand, and on the other hand we figured that in the long term in India, in the next 20, 30, 50 years, transportation and logistics of an economy which is growing is going to continue to become a larger part of the economy, and therefore trucking is going to become a larger part of the economy. So the pie is going to grow, and we were at a very nascent stage, and it was also obvious at that time the big daddies of trucking in India, I mean, honestly, when you look at their product portfolio, when you looked at their distribution, it was awful. It still is, I think, in some ways, but they've also come along a bit. But the trucks were awful. They were built awfully. The cabins were, wooden cabins. The horsepower of a typical 16-ton competition truck was less than that of your car on the road. So it was, the industry was going to be reinvented, and still happening. It's still not happened fully. But I look at things in a much longer time scale. I'm looking at it from a 10, 20, 30-year time scale. And at that point in 2004-05, we figured that the industry's, the truck market's going to change, and we could be one of the players who can actually change the market. But we then decided that while we had the ambition and the grit, and we were like the David sort of